We're playing another Pokemon game on the Nintendo Switch. Detective Pikachu returns. Cartridge provided from the Maryland Library System. I guess this game came out last year. Now's the time to mention that I hated the movie that they made based on the original Detective Pikachu movie. But we're not here to talk. I mean, they didn't make the movie for me, but you know they don't make lots of bad movies for me. They make bad movies for me too, but this was not. This was just a bad movie that wasn't. I promise not to talk too much about Detective Pikachu during this video. We'll see how it goes. We're playing in Japanese, but it's not going to make a difference because Nintendo's probably going to copyright strike this video anyway. Which is why this channel is unmonetized. I don't have to worry about any of their nonsense. It's amazing that my lifestyle isn't based on whether or not I can make videos that may potentially get copyright stricken. Story jump mode doesn't seem particularly helpful because I haven't unlocked anything. But we'll do a new game, then... Wait. Can I load what I have? Yeah. So I already have an autosave. Tim and Pikachu are awarded to an award ceremony. I guess I'll establish the basics, and then we'll just load the game from here. I'll let you listen to some of the voice acting, I guess, but it's not going to be high quality because I didn't bring a microphone that's suitable for that kind of thing. You'll be fine. We're not here for Pokemon cutscenes, are we? Well, maybe some of y'all are. Maybe you stumbled on this video. Yeah, it's Ryan Reynolds. So we're setting up the tail, I guess. That's fine. Yeah, the conceit here seems to be that Pikachu can actually be understood by his human. You know, his Ash Ketchum in this situation. So the conceit is that everyone else only hears, you know, animal sounds or Pokemon sounds and utterances. But the kid hears the actual language that he's speaking. I'm trying. What other movie did that? Yeah, you know. But I mean, again, I'm not gonna. Well, I guess we'll complain about the voices later, because in my mind, Pikachu always sounds like Megumi Was it Hashibara? Hayashibara? You know, what's her name? Lena Inverse. Yeah, Megumi. What's her name? So basically, in my mind, Pikachu is always a middle-aged Japanese woman. But apparently, Megumi's got to be in her 70s by now. I think she's in her 60s by now. But yeah, so and they kept her voice acting for the English dub. So in my mind, just hearing, you know, this generic Japanese dude's voice come out of Pikachu's mouth just doesn't work for me. But I guess the conceit is that Pikachu is always a dude. I honestly don't remember. Again, like I don't know enough about the Pikachu animated series to know if Pikachu is a male or female or just gender non-determinate. All I know is that Pikachu sounds like Megumi Sensei. So that's all I know about Pokemon lore. Not Robert Goodman. The R incident. This was in the original movie too. So I mean, I remember when the first Pokemon film came out, the animated film, for people who don't know, the Pokemon animated film made more money in the United States than it did in Japan. It's still, to this day, it is still the highest grossing anime film of all time in the United States. And it's kind of like Demon Slayer in a way, because it was a film that was based on the popularity of a TV show, which, of course, in the case of Demon Slayer, was based on the popularity of a manga. It was based on the TV adaptation of a manga. In the case of Pokemon, the animated series was so massive that they just took the film back in 1999, I think it was 99, 2000. It was 1999. they released a localization of the original Japanese movie. And of course, the problem with that was that they had to cut a bunch of content they didn't think was going to be appropriate for American grade schoolers. Because apparently the original Japanese film had, which I still have not seen that dub. Excuse me, I still have not seen that sub. But I recall the original Japanese film had some shonen elements, and they just took that out for the American film, which doesn't surprise me. But I remain somewhat dubious about the claims that it was some kind of like Tenchi Muyo in love like action drama. What? We'll talk about that a bit later. So this is not a Pokemon. This is not a point and click adventure game. It's more of a walk around and interact with objects adventure game. But I've never played Pokemon. I never played the Pokemon Detective game, so I wouldn't know. Didn't play Inspector Layton on the DS, even though I saw a bunch of advertisements for it. I always thought it was hilarious. The Washington Post had a commuter newsletter that was like maybe like 10 or 12 pages. So it was like a collection of a few stories from the Washington Post, along with some AP stories. And there would be a bunch of ads for the Professor Layton or the Inspector Layton game franchise that came out on the Nintendo DS. Never played it. I had a DS and I used it to play Game Boy Advance games. That was before I started recording videos for this channel. So, I mean, if there were a reliable way for me to capture DS games on this channel without downloading ROMs, I would. We'll get around to that conversation later. But this is one of those games that I would never buy. But libraries make it possible for me to sample this game for free, so I'd rather just do that. I know I'm probably not going to like this game. This game feels like the opposite of the kinds of games I want to play on this channel. But I sample everything, so I'm not a total dunce when it comes to Pokemon games. But since I'm not like a fan of Pokemon, I'm kind of neutral about these games when I play them. But if you ask me what Pokemon games would I play, well, obviously Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, the best Pokemon game ever made. Pokemon Snap seems interesting as a rail shooter. I need to go back and play that. And what else? That Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, because I love roguelites. I love your turn-based Shiren the Wanderer, mystery dungeon games. And Pokemon Mystery Dungeon or Pokemon Rescue Team is one of those games. So I have no fondness for any of the mainline Pokemon games I played. I played Sapphire, I played Sword and Shield, and I played one other mainline Pokemon game on this channel. They bore me to death. Can't play them. And remember, I grew up playing games like Final Fantasy 1 and Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior. So I'm not opposed to playing turn-based games. But Pokemon to me is just like, again, for people who aren't really comfortable playing like harder, more challenging RPGs, turn-based games, Pokemon games are fine. They have the basic gameplay loop is gonna be appealing to a lot of people. They just bore me to death. Again, if I were in middle school, I would play most of the Pokemon games just to kind of see if they were kind of scratched an itch. But I've already moved on to like your Resident of Fates, your romancing sagas. Fine. What's that What's that magnet Pokemon's name? I can never remember. By the way, I love her dangling earrings. Have I mentioned that? Have I mentioned in previous videos that I have this odd fondness for dangling earrings that look like they're from a Janet Jackson video in the mid 1980s? Have I mentioned that at least several times on this channel before? Like I saw a Ronin Warriors Gaiden OVA that came out a while ago, and they had a lady like dark skin, big dangling hoop earrings. Loved them. She looked like Scarlet from G.I. Joe Sigma 6, which I hated, but those dangling earrings on a soldier just tripped me out, man. They redesigned Scarlet to be basically a mall rat with big dangling earrings. Like I don't know if Gonzo did those character designs or if someone at Fox changed the character designs and Gonzo just took that one instead. Like, I don't know if someone from America approved those designs or if Gonzo mucked them up. Gonzo did a lot of work back in the early 2000s for North American studios. I think they were kind of like Tokyo Movie Shinsa in that they had connections to Western studios. They got a lot of work. What was the other one? Obviously KKC and D. You know, the guys who did Bots Master and what was the other ones? The original Conan the Adventurer series. They did some episodes over there. So Deke had a Japanese studio that was set up for doing some of their work. I think they had some subsidiaries down in Taiwan and South Korea at the time. But there were some episodes of Conan the Adventurer that looked like they were animated in Japan and on a very low budget. But yeah, sure. And Tokyo Movie Shinsa, obviously, Ashi did some work with Ruby Spears before they went out of business. Obviously, they worked on obviously they worked on Mega Man and what was the other one? Sky Server Strike Force. So there were some studios that got a lot of work from Western studios. Sunrise obviously did some in the 80s. Centurions is actually a pretty good looking series if you're into that kind of thing. It's a vibe, like it's a very mid 80s toy commercial vibe. And Sunrise is probably a better group. I mean, they worked on the Gundam shows, so I mean, they had plenty of experience. Okay, so press left on the D-pad. Yeah, maybe just Pie Dove like the smell of poo. I mean, what's Pie Dove into? The jazz swing music is actually not bad, I guess. It gives this series a different vibe. Yeah, cause like what I've never heard Pokemon music before. Now that I think about it, cause I wasn't even paying attention to the music in Pokemon Puzzle Challenge. Well, we can save the game if we need to. Press the ZL button to reread recent conversations. Be careful not to forget what was said. So they tell you in the top right hand corner of the screen, interview Pokemon. I understand. It sounds like she's speaking English. Well, yeah, yeah. Okay, I know just enough about Pokemon to get nerdy about this. Mewtwo, Meowth, and Mewtwo and Meowth speak English. What are the other? Okay, here's a fun fact for all the Pokemon nerds out there. Here's a gotcha question: which Pokemon actually speak English? Because obviously Meowth did, and Mewtwo did. Who are the other Pokemon who spoke English, or at least could speak human languages? Because obviously most of the other Pokemon, yeah, obviously most of the other Pokemon just spoke their own name repeatedly. Pikachu, Pikachu, Meg, Cancer. So is that true in the Japanese version too, or where they just say their names? Yeah, it doesn't sound like she's saying her name. So what other Pokemon can we interview? Maybe they have different names. Like, do they have different names in Japanese? Because obviously Pikachu says their name in their own language in the show. Pikachu. Yeah, how is Megumi doing? Like, she's got to be in her 60s now, right? She was no spring chicken when Pokemon came out, 25 years ago. Well, technically, I think it came out in 1997 in Japan, right? Again, I don't know the history. I know that the game came out in what the mid to late 90s. They want to say the game came out in America in 97, like 10 years after the Game Boy launched as a console. And the show premiered in America in 98 or 99. I think it was in 98. It was like the highest rated show in syndication. Kids WB picks it up out of syndication in like January of 99 because the show's so massive. And Kids WB becomes a powerhouse for like 4 or 5 years because of that. Pokemon and Batman Beyond together put kids, because I think it worked because in the mid 90s when the WB premiered as a network in 1996 they premiered by showing Saturday morning shows like the new Batman Adventures, which was their extension of the Batman animated series they picked up on Fox. They picked up from Fox. They premiered the Superman series in 96. And they were doing stuff like the second season of Earthworm Jim, which didn't last very long. What was the other one? Didn't Phantom Investigators come on in 96? It might have been 97. Yeah, I want to say Phantom Investigators didn't even come on in 96. But they were definitely showing Superman and Pokemon and Batman Beyond. No. They were showing Superman in 96, the second season of Earthworm Jim. I forgot what else they were showing. Wow. But yeah, like it didn't really make an impression, really, because they were a new network. You know, who was some like they had an affiliate in Washington D.C. So they took that affiliate. They had an affiliate in San Antonio, but I forget who actually aired their stuff. Because I was watching the Superman animated series when it premiered in San Antonio, but Baltimore didn't have a WB affiliate. So I think they were showing all this. I think they were showing Superman the animated series like on Sunday mornings or something. I mean, I can go to the Washington Post or the Baltimore Sun and look at their old TV listings. But that's what I mean. It's like if the only affiliates if the only networks that are airing your shows are like independent TV stations that weren't already bought out by UPN or a Fox, or if you're a smaller market, like San Antonio is a decent sized market, but it's not as big as DC. Ask about the Pokemon Protection Bureau. Fair's gonna call it the R incident. Right, we're gonna remain cryptic, aren't we? Okay, we got about another hour left on this battery. Is there supposed to be like a fast button? Well, we're doing auto skip, so whatever. But yeah, I keep meaning to go back to this because remember, before '99, Kids WB was just the network that showed Batman and Superman, the new Batman Superman Adventures, which is obviously what I was watching. Road Rovers was also on. It lasted for a couple of seasons. Yeah, I don't remember the rest of the lineup, but again, none of them really. Yeah, Freakazoid. The second season of Freakazoid was airing in '96. Because remember when it premiered, you had like Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries in 1995. They were showing Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries, Freakazoid, Earthworm Jim. I think Batman was actually still on Fox Saturday Morning as the Adventures of Batman and Robin. And then when it moved to Kids WB, they changed the character design and they put Superman in the same universe as Batman then. So that new art style was meant to signify the transition to sort of the Superman look, I guess. More streamlined, more stylistic, more stylized. More angular, less detailed, basically. So they were juggling two major productions at once. Yeah, by the way, the final season of Animaniacs aired in 1996, I want to say. When they were doing Star Wars references. They did a Power Rangers reference in '95, I remember. So yeah, Animaniacs was kind of finishing up its run with a lot of filler content and leftover scripts that hadn't yet been produced. I thought it was fascinating. I remember they got Lance Falk, who I think was a storyboard artist on there. I mean, Squat Cat fans know Lance Falk, along because he worked on what was it? Real Adventures of Johnny Quest. He worked on the second season of Real Adventures of Johnny Quest in 1996. And I remember he was doing some work on. I wasn't paying attention to where the Corviknight flew off. There were. He was working on Real Adventures, and he was working on some Animaniacs at the time. I think he had a spec script for like, a Flight of the Valkyries reference, an Apocalypse Now reference about pigeons pooping on a freshly washed car. So yeah, Lance Falk did that. But yeah, that was 1996. All the filler content that wasn't being used for any of their other scripts, I suppose. Again, you had to get 13 more episodes in the can to finish your 100. I forgot how many episodes they were trying to do. I don't remember this one. What's a Pokemon? I'm gonna call it Applin. So maybe it's so that might be that might be a localization of a Japanese named Pokemon. Like it might not be called Applin in Japan. Yeah. So what happened here? Yeah, I'm listening to the Japanese vocal utterances, and it doesn't sound anything like app. So it feels like they took a Japanese name and they just localized it and made him into an apple. Like the name might be a Japanese pun that didn't translate. So we got another side quest. You mean this tree that we just investigated a few seconds ago? Eggs. So it's a nashi. Nashagara. So they translated the Nagshi. So they translated the Japanese name to an English name to make it a similar pun, I guess. It doesn't look like eggs. It looks like coconuts. So I guess it doesn't I guess it didn't make the translation properly, I suppose. Is this like a Gojira reference where like the monster had three heads? Was it Rodan who had three heads? Who I'm not a Godzilla fan. Who was the monster that Godzilla fought that had three heads? Well, it's a good thing I don't have to pay attention to the dialogue, so I can just wait for the next narrative trigger. Again, I always say maybe this is an RPG. So maybe this you can make a game like this in RPG Maker, I suppose. Why not? Music is good. They were doing sort of a martial melody here. So they were doing more of a martial song instead of the swing jazz song they were doing earlier. This game is developed by Creatures Inc. apparently, so this is not a Game Freak game. Oh yeah, I played Mendel Palace a couple of weeks ago, and apparently that was the first Game Freak game. And of course, Game Freak was also doing games like was it Little Town Hero that I played on this channel earlier, which might be interesting, but it's really punishing. Like if you're a Pokemon fan and you want to play the next game from the Pokemon developers, that game is way too hard to understand. I can't imagine a single Pokemon fan just like playing a game like that after playing a mainline Pokemon game is like playing freaking Crusader Kings after playing, Dragon Warrior. Like, that is a massive leap in complexity. So, again, I think you would have to kind of lean people into, you would have to kind of guide people, Pokemon fans, into a game that complicated. I'm not saying it has to be handholdy. The thing I like about it is that the combat isn't very handholdy. And it requires some very serious decision making. But people are going to lose their mind because they're going to be turns where they don't. It's like a card deck. It's like a card deck builder game. But you won't. But there are going to be multiple instances where none of your cards are any good. You just kind of play the best bad card on your deck. Just kind of hope you survive. So people are going to hate that game. I'm kind of into it, but I realize it's probably too hard. It's like the Dark Souls of turn-based. It's like the Dark Souls of turn-based card combat games. So until you can kind of grok what's going on with it, I can't recommend anyone buy it. People are going to drive themselves nuts trying to play that thing. Like, I can totally understand people throwing that disc in the trash after the first battle. It's really hard. That's what I mean. It's like I can understand a mystery dungeon game, not like I can understand like a teenager kind of getting into a mystery dungeon game because it's apparently pretty like it's pretty forgiving in terms of teaching you the rules of roguelite dungeon crawlers and mystery dungeon games. But yeah, that thing is brutal, man. Yep, Little Town Hero is brutal. Which again is the opposite of a mainline Pokemon game. Yeah, apparently they're on this stupid mainline quest because he lost his hat. That was it. Daijoubu. Mashy, mashy, mashy. That was a very easy mashing minigame. Gotta mash a bit harder. Yeah, you gotta mash faster. I do like the music. And I think Pikachu's voice actor is kind of cool. Even though he doesn't sound like Megumi Yashibara. Megumi Sensei. I mean, obviously they were. I mean, I don't know if she's still doing voice acting these days. I can ask. Or it's entirely possible they hired someone less expensive than Megumi Sensei. So I don't know what they called the Corviknight in Japanese. Pikachu. Yeah, who needs an actual adult? Who needs professional adults to do the job? We have a teenager and his freaking talking pet. By the way, no one understands what the pet's saying. Except for Tim. Whatever. Yeah, great town you got here. You got kids doing the work of professionals. Amateurs. unpaid amateurs doing the work of professionals. Like, what are the cops doing in this town all day, by the way? I mean, they had a Pokemon Protection Bureau, right? So what are they doing all day? If these kids are the ones doing all the work. Now, what are you going to do? But yeah, sure, like, you can make a game like this in, RPG Maker. Hmm. Yeah, why? First of all, if they made the movie about him, why would he not have seen it or heard about it? Like, why are they telling their own Why are they telling this guy about a movie they made about him like he hasn't already seen it? If he's so famous. Anyway. Hmm. Okay, fine. Okay. Okay. Wait, this is not a CRT. I was about to say that would be insane. Awesome. Blow stuff up. Blow stuff up. That was like a Mewtwo to me. Yeah, it was like a Mewtwo to me. Let's assume it does. For the sake of the story. Let's assume it's narratively important. Isn't Mewtwo like trying to destroy humanity for imprisoning him and treating him like a medical experiment or something? I'm trying to remember. Forgive me. I've forgotten the lore of the Pokemon movie. Have I mentioned multiple times that that's still the highest grossing animated film in America ever, even though we are now 25 years into the post-Pokemon utopia? Yeah, we did. I'm not saying we made anime real. I'm just saying that, again, Pokemon is still 0 AD. Pokemon literally is the reason why there's so much anime in this country right now. Like, it is the reason. Before I was there, I was born into the muck and the mire. Look, I was there when the first Dragon Ball series bombed in America. It was localized in English in 1995. Your boy was there, and I saw how badly badly that show performed. And I loved the first 2 episodes of it. And I never saw, and I just gave up on it about halfway through. But they aired it for 13 episodes, and then they canceled it because it was such a I think it maybe aired 26 episodes, and they canceled it. And then the very next year, they jumped right ahead to Dragon Ball Z, and it was not a hit. It was a decent performer. But remember, don't let anyone lie to you about that. Dragon Ball Z in the United States did not become a hit until Cartoon Network started airing it, and then it started blowing up. And then Pokemon came out in 99 and everything changed after that. But Dragon Ball Z was airing on Toonami like, what was it, 2 years? Because I remember in 95, they were showing Gargoyles at 4 o'clock, and the guys in the toy traders shop that I went to back in Maryland. That those guys were watching Toonami. They were watching Thundercats on that Toonami lineup, and they were watching Sailor Moon the year after that, I bet. And Robotech was airing in '97 because I saw Robotech for the first time for realsies in '97. So yeah, they were trying to get people into anime back then by showing reruns of freaking Voltron and crap like that. But yeah, eventually we got a black dude. Eventually they got So eventually they got what? Eventually we got Dragon Ball Z on Cartoon Network, and they did reasonably well. I think Neon Genesis Evangelion eventually showed up for some reason in '98. And then when Pokemon blew up in '99, everything changed. Literally, the decade changed, the culture changed. You had an entire generation of kids who maybe they watched Dragon Warrior or Dragon Ball. Maybe they watched Dragon War like I did back in 1990. Maybe they saw Dragon Ball Z. Okay, Pikachu's a real talkative Pokemon. I can press the right button to chat with him. Maybe I don't want to chat with him. Yeah, do that again. Don't let the reformists and the lazy internet historians try to teach you otherwise. Dragon Ball Z, the original Dragon Ball failed in this country. Then they skipped to Dragon Ball Z the very next year, and it did fine. I think the ratings were like, what was it? I think the range was like what, a 3.5 or a 3.7. Like the ratings were respectable. But which show was more popular? Do you think? Dragon Ball Z or Timon and Pumbaa? Fun fact, Timon and Pumbaa got higher ratings in syndication, and I think on ABC or CBS, than Dragon Ball Z did in syndication. Now you respect that. It was a Disney show. It was based on The Lion King. The Lion King was the highest grossing animated film of all time at that time. But don't let anyone try to imply that Dragon Ball Z was... Yes, Dragon Ball Z existed in syndication in 1996, which is how I saw it. But it was not a hit. It was a respectable performer, yes. Sailor Moon, a respectable performer in syndication. It was not a hit. Now, Biker Mice from Mars was a hit. Not Sailor Moon, not Dragon Ball, or Dragon Ball Z. Until it moved to Cartoon Network, and then it performed more respectably. It's like I guess the best way to describe it is Home Movies was a UPN show that I saw back in 98, 99 when it first premiered. Terrible ratings. It got like a 1 rating. Apparently a million people saw Home Movies on UPN when it originally premiered. I was setting my VCR to record it at like 1 in the morning because the only UPN affiliate we had in San Antonio at the time was showing Thursday Night SmackDown on Saturday night, and they were showing Voyager on Sunday nights or something at 1 in the morning, because they can only show UPN programming after midnight on the NBC affiliate after the Tonight Show. So yeah, if you wanted to watch Home Movies, you had to set your timer on your VCR to record it at 1 in the morning, which is how I saw it. But yeah, so a million people watched it, and it was a bomb. And then it moves to Adult Swim, like in 2001 or something, right around the time Cowboy Bebop is airing. And then Home Movie gets a smaller audience of like 750,000 people apparently are watching that on Adult Swim. It's the highest rated show on the network, and they're the second highest rated show on the network, and they're buying extra seasons. So that like Family Guy, Home Movies was saved by Adult Swim. The difference is that Family Guy was brought back to Fox, and then they would show the reruns on Adult Swim. But Home Movies bombed on UPN, just like Baby Blues bombed on the WB in like 2000. And yet, the reason they bought the rights to Baby Blues for Adult Swim was just because they saw what happened to Home Movies on UPN. They saw how much it blew up. So once Adult Swim got their hands on it, It got lower ratings and yet became the highest show on one of the highest rated shows on Adult Swim, and they brought it back for at least 3 more seasons. And eventually we got Bob's Burgers out of it, I would argue. And now Bob's Burgers is the premier show on Fox Sunday night animation domination. And that show did well enough to get a movie made, and now Crapopolis got a 4-year deal or something because they need something to replace Family Guy, I guess. Go to the Claire Denise residence. Okay, here's a fun fact for all you movie nerds out there. Name 3 films that Claire Denis directed. I don't know any of them. But yeah, a French director, I want to say. Pretty popular, I want to say, in the early 2000s. Haven't seen a single thing they did. But I've been told they were a very good director. I think they did Yuri. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure they did Yuri. Mom, what's Yuri? Yeah, ask me when you're a teenager. Probably have to cut that out of the video, by the way. It's probably not age appropriate for a Pokemon detective video. What's this game rated? E6? I don't have the box. Let me check on something. It doesn't say what it's rated. Okay, fine. I'll have to go to the box. Anyway, sorry. Just a quick digression there. This entire stream of consciousness rant probably would apply, but so yeah, I mean, yeah, I gotta commit to this. I'm gonna have to go online eventually and get my hands on those old TV listings because I grabbed a bunch of them and I forgot to actually save them. Like I was reviewing them and I forgot to save them to email, so I'll get around to that later. Because I know there's some research. I was supposed to be doing some research on an old Facebook page I had for animation reviews. So I was supposed to dig into those old TV listings. There are forums who focus on that, but I kind of want to get that in like a Reddit. I kind of want Reddit to be able to see some of this stuff. Because the hope is that I want to get some actual, like, reliable data about what the TV listings were like here in Washington, D.C. And once you can confirm those TV listings, then you can get a better idea about what the layout was. Because, I mean, like, you have to know about shit. Like, for instance, yes, Exo Squad, second season, it premiered at 3:30 in the afternoon on the UPN affiliate, and then it got canceled by December. And that was one of the highest rated shows the prior year in the second season Bond because they couldn't buy there was a glut in 1995 or like 1994. There was a glut of syndicated products for there was a boom in syndicated animation back then. The Disney Afternoon had a bunch of slots taken up. Fox Kids had a bunch of slots taken up. So if you had a show that you wanted to air after school, you had to kind of make room for the Disney Afternoon. You had to make room for Fox Kids and the Power Rangers, Goosebumps. You had to make room for that stuff. So that meant if you had a show that was reasonably popular and you were airing Monday through Friday, you probably had to air it in the morning between 7 and 9 o'clock. 7 o'clock. I think 7 to 7:30 was prime time for the morning animated lineup. By 8 o'clock, the kids were going to school, and if you were really unlucky, your show aired at 8:30, and by then the only people who could have seen it are kids who are out the door because they got to be at the bus stop by 9. At least when I was growing up. And if you really stuck. Like, there were animated shows that would air at 9 o'clock. Like, Exo Squad aired at 9 a.m. in Baltimore, which is the worst possible time slot. Because all the kids are already at school, and no adults getting up at 8 o'clock to watch that. Now, your boy was a big Exo Squad fan. Ain't no 40-year-olds staying home from... I mean, if you're a 30-year-old Exo Squad fan, holla at your boy. But you were probably working. You weren't watching Exo Squad. You were probably using your timer to watch Exo Squad at 9 in the morning. And like I said, and it gets worse. At 2:30, they would be airing crap like Swan's Crossing. again, for all the middle schoolers and the high schoolers who were getting out of school, you can watch. If you were lucky, you could watch Swan's Crossing before the Disney Afternoon showed up. And if you really sucked, you would have to watch. If you wanted to watch, say, BattleTech at two in the afternoon. Who's watching a cartoon at 2 in the afternoon? The high schoolers are still in school. The middle schoolers everyone's still in school. But again, if you're a syndicated show, you're saying, okay, I got this. We got clearance in DC. BattleTech is waving their hands in the air. Finally, we got a DC channel to buy our show. It's airing at 2:30 on Tuesdays. Who's watching that? I didn't even know it was on until like November, I think. And for people who don't know, the BattleTech animated series was from the same showrunners who worked on Beast Machines, the Godzilla animated series that was on Fox Kids back in the day, when the 1998 animated series that the Extreme Ghostbusters crew worked on that. The Sony guys, the guys who worked on Starship Troopers, Roughneck Chronicles, and what was it? They worked on Jackie Chan Adventures. That was their last big show, I'd say. So Godzilla and Jackie Chan Adventures were like that. That was also part of the Kids WB ascendance. After Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh blew up, Jackie Chan Adventures blew up, Shaolin Showdown blew up, Static Shock blew up. So there were a lot of shows in that early 2000s era that you probably grew up watching. All you Pokemon fans probably grew up watching Static Shock and Yu-Gi-Oh, Shaolin Showdown, Jackie Chan Adventures. One more thing. Yeah, one more thing. So you know that era about as well as I do. Probably a little bit more than I do, because you probably saw even more of those shows than I did. Unlike me, you actually saw the really bad episodes of Static Shock with Shaquille O'Neal and Yao Ming and them. You probably saw Ozzy and Drix. I saw half of Ozzy and Drix. You didn't miss nothing. Fine, press the X button. Sanjeev, Denise, Jewel. How the culprits steal it. So the game's just sort of automatically doing this stuff. Like, it's the opposite of what, like, if you remember, what is it? Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego video game from the 80s or the early 90s. The one that spawned the PBS show with the acapella group, and Lynn Thigpen was playing the lieutenant. That old Where in Time is Carmen Sandiego back in the early 90s. That was a mystery. That was a menu-driven mystery game where you would have dialogue trees. It wasn't even dialogue trees. It was just a menu where you would like go to certain waypoints and then choose a person, and then you would go to a waypoint and then a clue would be revealed. And then you would open a freaking almanac, because that game had a World Almanac. That's how I got it. I think I had the World Almanac 1988 in it. And you needed the almanac because the almanac would tell you the capital of a country. They would tell you the currency in that country. I think they would tell you. I think what the country. People would drop hints. If you walked to a waypoint, a character would say something about they were looking to get some crones. Some Danish crones. Well, they wouldn't call them Danish crones. They were looking for Krugerrands or Deutschmarks or pesos. And you would have to look up the almanac to say, which of these four we have four possible destinations. Which of these four destinations is in a country that has pesos as their currency? So you would have to open the almanac and see which of these countries on the list had that currency in it. Or which of these countries had the Leaning Tower of Pisa in it. Or which of these capital cities, you have four choices. Are you going to Buenos Aires, Cairo, Copenhagen, or Tokyo? And the person would drop clues about, they were looking to get some yen. So yeah, Then you would open the almanac and say, "Oh, I know which country is yen. That's Japan, and the capital of Japan is Tokyo." So it was one of those educational games. This is different. This game is literally telling you where to go and what to do, and it's writing down everything automatically for you. So it's more family friendly, and it's less, fiddly and tedious, but whatever. But we're about to run out of time with me ranting for like an hour about things that are barely completely tangential to this video game. I'm just going through the motions, if I'm being honest. I'm entertaining myself by just ignoring the video game. Examine closer. Adamantium blade, I suppose. What's that? A feather. Well, it's not a side duck. I wasn't paying attention to what anyone said here. Let's just examine everything the game wants us to examine, I guess. Dimu. Okay, so apparently, what's the beef here? It's that no one understands what Pikachu is saying except for Tim. But the animation obviously shows his mouth movement, so he's clearly speaking Japanese. But when the human beings hear it, they don't see the nuances in the mouth movement, I guess. So, I mean, it's a conceit you have to understand. It's a conceit, I get it. Yes, I mean, it's like, how do I feel about the conceit? Nah. They get a Sherlock Holmes. They get a Sherlock Holmes vibe here with the whole like. Okay, I probably forgot to mention this in the past. There was a Sherlock series that came on Fox back in the I think the early 2010s. It wasn't Eddie Redmayne, but I want to say it was from the same showrunner who worked on House. I remember really liking it. Was it called Watson and Holmes? I don't even remember the name of it. Okay, I guess I missed a spot. I guess they want me to check everything. Okay, so I can't back out of this. So basically, at this point, it becomes a point and click. Sure. Wait, Timu. Yeah, this feels very like whatever. It's very by the numbers. Yeah, baby's first point and click adventure. Baby's first Nancy Drew, I guess. Which isn't bad. It's just that how do you make something like this more interesting? Is there anything? Oh, I forgot to examine the keyhole. Of course, it's still locked. They didn't need to break it open if they had a knife that just slashed through it. Some kind of nondachi. Like what kind of blade would? Yeah, like maybe like a. It's a clean cut too. So like, some katana level BS. Katana. Okay, we got everything. We clicked all the things. Open the queso book. Okay. Let's begin deducing. No mind maps like in the Agatha Christie game I played on this channel earlier this year. Yeah. Yeah, I clicked on the thing and it said I did a good thing, so I guess I'm making progress. Should I be analyzing the gameplay at this point? Because I mean, what can I say about the gameplay? You just see me like doing what the game tells me to do, and it's not even there's like no question really as to what I should ever be doing. Yeah, I figured that out. I mean, okay, I guess I feel smart. Can I join the I Am Very Smart subreddit now? Do I have the Mensa score? Do I have the commensurate Mensa score? Okay. What else? The glass was cut, but the door wasn't. Actually, I wasn't paying attention to that. So we need to ask Claire Denis about this, I suppose. Were you coming to this channel for Claire Denis references? I'm probably not even saying the name properly. I don't speak French. I mean, your boy's Cajun Creole. That doesn't mean I speak French. Your boy's from Louisiana. The guy's from West Louisiana. That doesn't mean I speak French. Go to testimony. So yeah, very slim chance I'm going to be playing this game for another hour and a half. So yeah, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying I'm not saying it's trash. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying my backlog is like 200 games deep right now. No reason for me to add to the list at this point. Like some of these games, like the again, I like the music, so maybe there's a chance I might be able to hear some more of it later on YouTube if it doesn't get copyright stricken. It might be on that Nintendo Switch, Spotify app or whatever. I keep telling myself I need to listen to more music. Pokemon music isn't really high on my list. Though I remember liking some of the music in Arceus. So there's that. Begin deducing again. Well, he's the only reasonable suspect we've met so far in the game. Maybe he's just a decoy. Yeah, so when investigating a crime, always start with the spouse, right? Well, they're married, I'm just saying. Despite the Claire Denis reference. But, I'm trying to think, like, yeah, like, obviously I'm not following the story. So, what, how else can I, spam? How else can I, spam? Well, I've got my hands on the first couple of episodes of Dragon Ball Z in Japanese, because Crunchyroll is airing them. So Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z are available for me to watch later. Um, doubt it's good. I know Dragon Ball Z is trash. I'm just curious to see how it plays in the original Japanese. And unlike some of you kids out there, I don't watch anime at 1.5 speed. Like I watch anime the way it was meant to be consumed, which is well, with English subtitles. Well, at normal speed. I don't judge movies based on, by speeding them up. Though hey, if it helps people watch like classic movies with like very slow pacing, I guess I won't complain. I mean, do whatever you got to do, man. If kids are watching Claire Denis movies at 1.5 speed, you know what? What do I got the Kozlowski trilogy, Blue, White, and Red. You can watch that at 1.5 speed. Maybe it's a more manageable pace for all of you YouTube video essayists out. For all you YouTube video essayist consumers. All you people who watch 5-hour Joseph Anderson videos on Fallout 4. Sure. Didn't he do like a 3-hour video on The Witness? Can I save the game here? Whoop whoop. Recap? Why do I want to recap? So we'll save the game. Assuming I would ever play this game ever again. So let's see what our options are here. Recap. Okay, great. How to play. Consult Pikachu or chat with Pikachu. Like a private action in a Star Ocean game. Music seems good. Curious about how it turns out. But yeah, this game's I'm gonna say again, it's not trash. It's just nothing I have any interest in playing it any further. So I somehow spent an hour playing this game. How? The time just flew by because I wasn't even paying attention. I was rambling about 20th century cartoons over the antenna, which is really why you're here, isn't it? I mean, why would you come here to watch me play a Pokemon game? Why would you ever watch me play a Pokemon game except to hear me rant and rave for 50 hours about, cartoons I watched when I was a teenager? So yeah, music might be okay. Voice acting might be fine. I don't know. Um, Game is completely unremarkable. So I did a research stream. Didn't care at all about the game. Wasn't really interested in if I could jump around, huh? Okay, so I can just do the. So I can just like skip all the investigation and just. So I can just skip all the investigation and just gotta go right ahead to the story, huh? Maybe I can play this game at 1.5 speed, huh? Darn kids. Yeah, all you Skibby fans out there, you guys are going to be so confused when you grow up and watch Claire Denis movies. You're not going to have any idea what's going on, man. Yeah, y'all going to watch Martin Scorsese movies and be like, why is this so confusing? Because you won't understand, because you'll be so media illiterate. Not that okay, look, I'm going to stop being mean. Everyone starts somewhere. When I was your age, kids, I was playing Dragon Warrior. Excuse me, it was called Dragon Quest 1. I played Final Fantasy 1. I barely touched Shadowgate. What's Shadowgate? Ask your grandparents. They probably played it when they were in elementary school. With Nintendo Power at their side, so they can learn all the secrets by having Nintendo Power help them and explain them all. But yeah, this is basically like playing Shadowgate with Nintendo Power by your side. Except all the Nintendo Power assistance is built into the game's interface. Oh, they got runes. Oh, yeah, that's right. What is it? The Kanto region has its own symbology, right? Is that what they're doing? So I can't zoom in and read all the nonsense. You know what? Honestly, runes aren't a terrible way to do world building in a game like this. I'm not opposed to that. Because I want to say the original Pokemon games on Game Boy had runes and symbols and hieroglyphics for their fake language, for their fake written language. Like all the signs were in that fake written language, right? Which obviously saves money on localization because you don't have to change all the Japanese to English. You don't have to change all the Japanese signs to English. Although obviously the Kanto region in Pokemon is a reference to the Kanto Plains of Honshu, which is I believe it's the most populated region in Japan. It's where Tokyo is, along with what? Basically it's a wide expanse of land that's arable, and it's also like because you probably know Japan's a very mountain Honshu especially extremely mountainous country. It's a volcanic island, an archipelago, obviously. So there weren't a lot of places to actually spread out. So it's kind of like Dragon's Dogma. It's a bunch of valleys between impassable mountains. Think of it like that. He's wearing a hat. Well, first of all, they can't understand what Pikachu is saying. So why does he even bother responding to them? Anyway, so we'll return to the title. So we'll end the video by skipping ahead to one more chapter. So more spoilers, kids. Having fun with that. Cover the culprit behind the jewel theft. Okay, so we got a spoiler. Can I already do that? Okay, there we go. To learn what the jewel really is, they witness hero being carried by a mysterious organization. Okay, that's fine. We're never going to autosave anyway. We're just kind of skipping around. Let's pretend we care about the story. It's like Mega Man with the stage select code, except there's actually a narrative you have to follow. But anyway, I recorded this from a mounted switch plugged into my J5 Create UHD 4K capture device. It has an HDMI pass-through. It has an HDMI pass-through, which allows me to play this game at 720p on my on my flat screen television. It's my Insignia. Lower input. Let's assume that input latency matters. But the actual game footage is being captured on my quad-core Celeron Windows 10 Education laptop, which is fast enough to play Tomb Raider. The original Tomb Raider on CD, which I have back here. But it also has the Windows 10 camera app, which allows me to record this footage at 30 frames a second, because I didn't need 60 for a game like this. Don't fool yourself. Let's pretend it even matters. Now everything has to be about 4K with ray tracing, kids. Sometimes good video games are just about this. Although to be honest, this is probably just like people clown mobile games all the time because they're not quote real games. Like Balatro got nominated for Game of the Year at the Game Awards in November of 2024. It's probably better than any game on that list. I haven't played Rebirth, but Balatro is probably better than every game on that list. It's a laptop friendly card game that was made by one person. I'm cool with that. I'll play Balatro eventually. I keep telling myself I'll watch some YouTube videos and then I'll spend $2 and play it. For $2, it sounds like the perfect game, and it might be even better than that. But again, there are people who look at that and say it's a card game. Like you show people like a Soulsborne like with a photorealistic monkey in really detailed graphics like Wukong, Black Myth Wukong, they're like, yeah, man, that's a real game. Stellar Blade with the Korean anime ladies. That's a real game. Or like, what was the other game again? We're not gonna talk about Erdtree because that's a DLC and it shouldn't count, but we'll talk about that later. But Balatro is a card game. So people look at that and like, why is poker game of the year? No, it's not a poker. It's a deck building roguelite based on regular playing cards. Kings, queens, and aces. Sounds like it might be interesting. So I'll see how it goes once I play it. There's no demo, partly because I've been told the game is as addictive as sugar and coffee. So make a note. I'll play it eventually on this channel eventually, and it will be a laptop-friendly game, I hope. A couple of other Switch games supposed to get around to playing. By the way, I record this audio with my Plantronics headset plugged into the laptop. I got a shooter called Risk System, which is rated E10, where you dodge enemies instead of just shooting them on it. You shoot enemies automatically, and you dodge them. Luigi's Mansion 2 is gonna suck. Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is the sequel to a game I barely played on the GameCube. I played Luigi's Mansion 3 for about an hour on this channel a couple of months ago. I didn't get the video out in time for Halloween. Stay mad. Luigi's Mansion is a game I'm not going to like. But again, the library system has these games for free, so this is my excuse to play them. There is a 0% chance I'm going to like Luigi's Mansion. But your boy's experimental. My brain is not ossified yet, so I'm willing to play these Luigi's Mansion games on the Nintendo Switch for the first time. I would never buy a Luigi's Mansion game for the GameCube. Don't get me wrong. I would never buy that game. Can't imagine spending more than $10 on that. Like everything about the Luigi's Mansion franchise just screams rental at Blockbuster for a weekend rental at Blockbuster. But now I can't do it, man. So I'll play Luigi's Mansion 2 eventually. Maybe it'll be a filler content. I want to play it once for an hour and just get it out of my system, just like this game. Was this a Persona game now? The bamboo. Was this We Bear Bears? Yeah, man, it's too bad about Pokemon games. Like I said, Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Pokemon Snap. Those are going to be my mains from here on out. I'm not invested in the Pokemon universe. I know, and I don't have kids, so I'm not invested in playing a bunch of Pokemon games if I don't have to. Too bad. We'll play some good Pokemon games next time on this channel, I suppose. Maybe I'll finally play another one of those mystery dungeon games.